Rita, Mirandaman, Chupalatori, Chula Chupi, Chula and Chupi. Chula Chupa Namtri Toy, Java Nation Rona Mimzeba, Chuji and Jebra Kang in the Eson. Tandi, Chetan, in the Banani, Chuba, in the Chuba, Chuba territory, the Chuba, the Junction, Namin Junction, the last one, your Sebaju to give a long theatre, Sebaju to no one jump to long. There is a the Bami Chua Dungeon, Chuba Nahari, Politics, the Pay, you think, Ben the dreaming upon us, and it's a country, thought of what a sharp table, the last of our doing. Say, by Jim young and young, you are Chiramang Chuba, no one jump to the Jerry the Sweden with Jim the young day. Around no that they soon the Jim Jagger Colony, conducted Jim Jagger Colony Chuba the little Mambo, don't down when we need the Congress. I think Chuba the County somewhere is in the Sancho Sember only. Khenpo was the Debat Chatham Chena, the Debat in the Rangi, the Chubi of the Jungle, Counter Sama Theatre. Khenpo sang him getting the little children, young Sosu, later Gavagan to Chuka, Rangatini, Chico, the last one, Namato, Bernard, the good of the Sumuri. Sachuks between so much or telling of the Sarcho, that the Sarchos of the Jung, the Monons, but they somebody really get the tone to see Kashi, Jujuk Mon, that day, Zartu, the Dutch was me, Jodokti, Chidai, Yilman, Mambo, Jujuk, Sigawa, Kashi, that Jujuk, the Gasachi. Osabim Potter, the Mari, Mulam Shibadi, Khenpo, Deba, Khenpo, Yungdi the Shin, Yungdi the Tone, their Deba Chatter, the Dama Deba, Yungdi Tone, the Deba Deba, the Rajin Coa to Coa Cordoba. The Tela the Zichi Deba, there is a Dubier. It is the bat, they go to the Rami bat, Nadu is some debas. There's some glory. This debas of the Disney, Nagatari, Metal, to permanent the author, Zogdeva Padami, Zogdeva Sopa. They are Chumsong, Mangosongo, Chuba Yodina. There's a taste of the Santos around Rami, Junguri. He was sort of the debut top of Sajo, but of the Tonga and Jetta, Bella, some of the Mato Sato, young Locoyore. Not the Jobata of the district around Yin Juguyore. There's a what's in Kachigo, touching on Chuba. You can't jump to come to Sega, no Marity, Rubaram, Yori, Sajo around with a tree, Chuyert and Chuzar. Nothing, nothing, trouble with your Bella. Don't nature. Choose our choosy, choose cakes, some Tomadavani, Juba Posade Sanjay, Ragasim Deshing Mondira Unga Sanjay, Juba Potition, Ting Angitini, they go some talk, Yungdi and Chenrezig charity, Chobaram, Ying Juguyori, Pukri Daj and the little Dola Juba Chadi Yori, Porcelama, Porcel Sanjay, and Rangasevu, Pojete the Rangasan took some now. Tamata Deba, or Shimon, Nijirango. The Punky Dodge, the decision we wanted to understand, and choose that you did Chipo, Jake, something. Lamata suggests of chicken, and now I think long to the lady. Now I should come to me, but Nanga, or they should come to Jellicota, Shankachuba. They say me by your state of J. You stop the joke with the get me some days or angry. Togi, Morango, top with the Rangi, Tokyo, 그리고 좀 고안되나 내가 그 로가를 독서서라 소수인 상부더니 다 르직 토토스를 지속거든요. 쓰는 거 속에. 그리고 맨날 배용질라서 봐. 라는 거 쓰는 거 참는 거 토고 요래. 대에 참체 뭐하다 뭐들이 뭐하고 토고 요래. 그다 탐빙 뭐하지는 생고만을 초반적으로 생고만을 드니까 그래서 피박하리나 다다 썰라서 원하는 송고요래. 너는 초반에 생고만 초반에 생고만 하더니 르당 너들이 진짜라 산촉 생고랑 오래 송고요래. 도당을 꺼내더니 내가 갈아서 아무도 사전 쪽만하고 차들 초반 주사들 주지 삼이 쪽만하고 세송주한테 동나오면 대답을 참 내가 꼭 하고 요래 돼서 따와마도 그렇게 가서 더나 주바 퍼니지 주바 퍼사라데 랑생이지 가리시 사태로 보고를 그 건조고 동상부 책발을 동상부 대만 통순 상대 가리송을 대리 야 생그랑 우리 깨다 나와서 저랑 그 샘들 코데지 가라고 세베 대다고 고하고 본인들이 단 주바들 가리들 대다서는 어때서는지 산속 생그랑 가리서를 접촉을 그래서 대다고 고하 차고 그래.
So then, of the 7 branches, we are at the branch next of the branch of offering, which is the next verse. So it starts with oceans of emanated offerings to you, the light, the victorious ones, and ripen all sentient beings. Having completely filled the Dharma Dhatu, I make this unsurpassed offering unceasingly. So the offering branch of the 7 branches, what is the benefit or the good quality of making offerings? On the relative level, it is said that each offering that one makes will bear a specific result, which is called the result corresponding to the cause. And then there's different kinds of results. For example, there is the result of full maturation and so on. So within that cause, the result that corresponds to the cause, there is a twofold division. So there is the experience and the activity that correspond to the cause. For the experience corresponding to the cause, one will, for example, continuously engage in similar virtuous activities. For example, in the Amitabha Sadhana, in the offering section, it is explained how each of these offerings will ripen. So it shows the quality that will come from each of the offerings that one makes. For example, if one makes the light offering, then it is said that for all future lifetimes, temporarily, one will be endowed with wisdom, intelligence, and ultimately one will realize the nature of the mind and so on. So we have said there is the experience and the activity corresponding to the cause. The activity corresponding to the cause means that in future lifetimes, again and again, one will continue to engage in similar actions. And the experience corresponding to the cause is continuously the same kind of merits will continuously ripen, so one will experience the positive results. So on the relative level, there are many different kinds of offerings with different qualities that can be made. But then what about the ultimate truth? What actually ultimately is an offering? An offering arises ultimately really as a natural manifestation of bodhicitta. When it is directed toward the higher beings, then this bodhicitta becomes devotion. So with great devotion, offerings are being made. Whatever one thinks of, this is really what the mind becomes. So one can make any offering that comes to the mind. And then when it is directed towards sentient beings, then it becomes love and compassion. So one then benefits beings by being generous and so on. And then as a result of that, depending on what offering one has made, there will be a corresponding result. For example, one will be free of poverty, hunger, and thirst, and so forth, and various kinds of suffering. In the Bodhicharyavatara, it speaks about the qualities of bodhicitta, and there's a supplication basically praying that may precious bodhicitta arise in the minds of limitless beings. And so this whole prayer of the Bodhicharyavatara, the text in general, is actually really very meaningful and profound. And some people might not recognize that, and they think that, but there are so many profound and great teachings. The Bodhicharyavatara is just really speaking about the relative level. And so especially, actually, there are a few Westerners who think that way, that the Bodhicharyavatara isn't like that special. They belittle it a little bit. They minimize its great importance and significance. But actually, this prayer is extremely important and significant when you really can see its qualities. So that is because everything that and any offering that we make, everything that we give, must come from a mind of bodhicitta. So generally, aspiration prayer, any prayer that we make, also comes from that place of devotion toward the higher beings. And then when we, for example, see the good qualities in sentient beings, the greater one's faith, then the greater will be one's capacity to offer. And we speak about three kinds of faith. There is the clear faith, the longing faith, and the trusting faith. First, the clear faith, or the kind of inspirational faith, is to see the qualities. And then the longing faith is the wish for liberation, for self and others. And the trusting faith is to trust in karma and to trust in the unfailing source of refuge in the three jewels. And if you have these three kinds of faith, even if you only make an offering of a small flower, it will really please the Buddhas because it comes from this place of bodhicitta. So all of the offerings, all of the things we give, then should arise naturally as a natural reflection of bodhicitta. There's a prayer that speaks about through the power of faith in the three jewels, and the three jewels, truthfulness and so on, and the power of our pure intention. So that is a power. So through these powers of intention, of faith in the three jewels and so on, enhance the power of the aspiration prayer. For example, this is also why we practice the 6 mantras together with the 6 mudras, because these enhance the power of the prayer. Some people, for example, think that I don't have anything, I can't really make any offerings, set up any offerings. But actually, offerings naturally exist because they are a natural manifestation of bodhicitta. On the relative level and on the ultimate level, actually, one must realize that the one who is making offerings and the recipient of the offering, and also the offering itself, are actually inseparable. Oneself who makes the offering possesses Buddha nature, and then the Buddha who you make the offering to is one with your Buddha nature. So in this way, through the qualities of enlightened body, speech, and mind, and also enlightened activities, the offerings just appear naturally because everything is one ultimately. So the one who is making the offering and the recipient, the Lama or the Guru, and the offering itself, all is one. Our minds are one as the offering is a manifestation of bodhicitta. So when you're making offerings to the higher beings, you're making it out of faith and devotion. And when you give to the sentient beings, then the offering is a natural manifestation of your compassion. So, and ultimately, the offering and the one who makes the offering and the recipient are one. As we have said, my own mind, the Guru's mind, and the Buddha's mind are one. And all appearances ultimately are sambhogakaya. There are limitless pure lands of Sambhogakaya that are present and will be present continuously. And all the offerings that exist in these pure lands, the various sense pleasures and so forth, naturally exist there due to the power of the compassionate blessings of all the Sangha of the 3 times. Samsara appears temporarily. Temporarily, we have the bodies of the 6 realms of samsara. But still, even during that time, we can experience the outcome of our meritorious actions to whatever extent we have created them and for however long we have created them. So how we really gain the results of our virtuous actions is through actually the power of dedication. Through dedication, things will appear. And then we make them as offerings to the Buddhas and to the sentient beings. For example, how we benefit sentient beings is explained in the Sur, smoke offering, and so forth. So we benefit sentient beings by purifying their obscurations. So in any case, whatever offering we make is the natural reflection of bodhicitta. And so at first that might be a little bit difficult to understand for someone who has not realized the ultimate view. So no, they may think that so I, who makes the offering, and then the recipient of my offering, we have one mind. What does that mean? So it is just the difference between the ultimate and the relative. On the ultimate level, this is really how it is, because everything is mind, and therefore whatever you think of, this is what will appear. Everything is the projection of one's own mind. In the 37 practices, it says, appearances, or the way things appear, is one's own mind. So everything that appears to you in samsara and nirvana is your own mind. And therefore, likewise, the offerings that you make are a manifestation of your own mind, a manifestation of your own bodhicitta. And therefore, you can accomplish, you can conjure up anything that you can think of. So this is how you should understand the offering.
Jawa tamchile chupa de Chenrezig te pachile te chupa ren jodo yo ti ram ji sa chu sen ko ran chupa ren jodo yo janam kon tada nyamba tu ko ba ji de yume che ba so ko da bu chu tu te ta sa chu sen ko ran jorto ko yo re rola mi de te rola do se ji tamchila ran ga so nam chada tu ba ga ti ti chu ko te ta sa sa mer ta de ji ron tu te sa yo re Niñawada ya tamchele tele mimbari matato la sopa tele ya san che do lungara o ya beti la sopa ye tamchi ya tele range lege jevelatini il kashe che do de kashe karato pena do de chipachi tang mari te tamchi lege jesu do go do senje daji ni uni nongde 강이 속자 kashe pena o tam chesa, 저는 이제 민하기다 보자고 요래. 로바 같이 미탑지랬더니 내가 봐요. 랑고나 했더니 메탑지를 라왕네 봐. 또로나 이것도 또 동네 요래. 그 탑지 세다다오 다 미기 메르티는 땅 제대로 요래. 나무니 들어가는 걸 레스트 사잖아. 이 레스트다 마음이 바게 되는 일이 제 시파 좀 되는 용어 좀 나요 거리. 이 레티 니보라 타사데 대성제 동에 니보라더니 로는 민이들 그때 다디당 제베들이 신나가 Madini Balasa Wamagil, Data Namidi, Johnny, the young Sugar, participated of the last one more. Now, this who could the auto, but it is shaking a hot out this one that Chimboy. Jawan took the drum, many Romar of some didn't call it. You told them to start the Sena Lasova. You divide patas on the Ram, the Consolation. Lord, now talk to you on the Yena Melancholy. You just send with the water, Madame, delay, Nanga, the Nicoto to go to me, Shire. Lotata Sena, you want to get out of our shire, but then you want to take a song. They bought them to the new opportunity. They bought them to the action, go on, Cuba, show Martini, Junior, the Bassana, and Junior is the young song. The another body, you think it, I thought then Savory, the reason Khenpo, young man, the Sunguri, Nakamashi, Tamji, then you not the body start Hagori. I just don't know you were chucks away in that. Do chata sending you, she won't be in that. She attacked you, but the Pachapa in that. Chado, you were Jissy in that. The need of the Lotade, the book you were too hollow in that to worry. The need. 태성이 뭐라 되니까 양인이마다 요거 있나 태성지 사제 요다 매 다치 소들이 요다 대바라데 사제 용띠 요는 어쩌다 요살에서 양지 태성 요래 내를 녹다 뭐라 되니 치려고 올라 양인이마다 요거 당시 내래게도 요는 아까 아스 때도 논도도 그래서 뉴머리 니 뭐라리 Lilani so human on the Regi or Regi Muson on the edge. Even soon Kalari or to touch it, and you want to one very was. She had a name of the Pachapa in was. Oh, the Mokani what you call was. They know what the name. My jargon about Chaktavi was. They know what the Shinati knew about they or did them. 갑자반은 나저 것들 갑자반은 하고 그래 그걸 해다 못 담지게 그때 미리 시간을 줘 시간은 주발은 줘서 나한테 마음이 가비들이 또 동행이 줘요 미리는 대사비 다 주발되다 버려 로로에서 정중을 줘
So that is the basically the essence of the 7 branches. So what's the real essence of the 7 branches? So for example, the branch of prostration, or paying homage first, is an antidote to ignorance, especially pride. In terms of ignorance, one learns about the nature of karma. And in terms of pride, one learns to pay respect to the 3 jewels. Then secondly, the branch of making offerings is an antidote to the afflictive emotions of attachment and stinginess or greed. So here I'm just laying out the basis or the reason why we are making these offerings. So we are making offerings in order to overcome our own clinging attachment. And we are being generous to sentient beings to overcome our attachment and our greed. So when it is directed toward higher beings, then it becomes devotion and an offering. But still, it is the natural manifestation of bodhicitta. And so in the Samantabhadra prayer, it mentions then how through the enlightened intent, then limitless offerings then mature, or Buddhas mature. And so naturally they arise as the natural reflection of bodhicitta. And then depending on what offering one has made as a sentient being in the 6 realms, depending on the strength of one's bodhicitta, one will experience a corresponding result. For example, the higher realms, the gods and the humans experience some more happiness. And then beings in the hells and the hungry spirits, they are more inferior beings in terms of they have an inferior merit and experience more suffering. Or in this world, there are the humans and the animals, and they both can enjoy the 5 sense pleasures. So depending on the virtuous activity, one's own karma, one will experience a corresponding result. For example, some animals will find food to eat. But it's not just animals. Everything follows the workings of karma, cause and effect, for as long as there is a dualistic perception of self and other. But for example, animals, there's some animals, for example, cats and dogs, people care for them, look after them, just like they would for a human being. And then on the other hand, there are those, even human beings, for example, in India and Nepal and so on, that are used just like animals, like an ox, for example, and they have no freedom and experience a lot of suffering. So we can see this is what people do to one another. It looks like that people are doing that to one another, but in reality, it is really just the ripening of one's own karma. And so we have said that there is the result corresponding to the cause, which consists of activity and experience. But whatever karma is created will have a corresponding effect. So, for example, there is an effect that ripens from the act of stealing, for instance, and that comes from the afflictive emotion of greed, and that comes from self-grasping. So that will ripen in the end. And in order to purify these negative emotions that lead to such action, we help sentient beings by praying for them or dedicating for them. For example, when we dedicate for the bardo sentient beings by offering a sur, smoke offering and so forth, they will actually receive our dedications, and that is really extremely meaningful. These activities are extremely meaningful because they will actually ripen and they will be received by sentient beings. So that is the meaning here. It says, and ripen all sentient beings. And then, then it says, having completely filled the Dharmadatsu and so forth. And so then we purify the sentient beings so they fill up the Dharmadatsu, so they realize the natural state. So when the obscurations of attachment and stinginess are purified, then just naturally beings will enjoy the Pure Lands and happiness and so on. Actually, that is the natural state of the mind once it is purified. But until it is purified, beings continue to experience suffering, the suffering of poverty, hunger, and thirst, and so on. The natural manifestation of their own karmas. For example, the natural manifestation of attachment and stinginess or greed is a hungry spirit. That is for the offerings. So the offering is to purify the obscurations of sentient beings. So actually now these 7 branches, I'm just giving you an outline to them, but they are extremely profound. And all those things that I'm not mentioning right now, later Khenpo Rinpoche will give teachings and explain it in more detail. So I'm just giving you like an outline, the roots of those 7 branches. So first, the branch of prostration is an antidote to pride. Then the branch of making offerings is an antidote to attachment and greed. Then the branch of confession is an antidote mainly to hatred or anger. Then the branch of rejoicing is an antidote to jealousy. Then the branch of requesting to turn the wheel of Dharma is an antidote to wrong views, which is also related to ignorance. And then the branch of supplicating to not pass into nirvana is the antidote against doubts. The people have doubts as to whether or not, for example, the Buddhas really exist. They do have faith or devotion in the Buddhas and express the Buddha's qualities, but still it's more like thinking they probably exist, but there still is a little bit of doubt about that in the mind. So an antidote to such doubt is to request the Buddhas not to pass into nirvana. So in any case, each of these branches is an antidote to one of the afflictive emotions. For example, in the 37 practices, it is said, one wields the weapon of mindfulness as an antidote the moment an affliction arises. So in this way, each of these branches is an antidote to an affliction when it arises. So desire and greed is the offering, we're making offerings, and when anger arises, we confess negativities, and for ignorance, we request to turn the wheel of Dharma, and for pride, we prostrate, we pay homage, and so on. So it's just important to understand the actual meaning, the significance of each of these branches and what afflictive emotion they correspond to. Because then it's almost like injecting a medicine, that I have to take this medicine for that and that for that and so on. And in this way, the disease of the affliction will mature, will ripen, meaning that the 5 afflictions will transform into the 5 wisdoms.
lunga sawa nang ina da ba nyum ba ri ni bo le de nyum ba tok ti khala da di ni bo ke ta mo ina de ni ina de ina da ba sa ina da ba de ni sen ne lo ke bu ma de ge ma la be la do na so ba ni san lang sang song ina da ba so no de chi chang de wa yo ma yo ba da wo de ke da yu me de ki bo ti de so mo ya bo yo le tri tren tran sang yo de.
So in the end it says here, I make this unsurpassed offering unceasingly. The unsurpassed offering is the ultimate kind of offering. So of the seven branches has an outer, inner, and a secret aspect. So the outer 7 branches are the activities of body and speech. The inner 7 branches is that each of them is an antidote to an afflictive emotion. So, and on top of that, so now we have mentioned the first 6, and the 7th one would be the antidote to self-grasping, which is the last branch of dedication. That's the inner 7 branches, and then the secret 7 branches is to realize the nature of the mind. And that is actually also explained in the Guru Yoga practice of Milarepa. It explains the outer, inner, and secret aspect of the 7 branches. And they all seem to have a connection also to the meaning here. But I hope that later in the teachings, Khenpo Tenzin will elaborate on this further. So for today, I will stop the teachings here.
Page 7 for the dissolution in the sadhana. Tenzin At the end of the session, the universe and beings melt into light and are absorbed into myself. I then melt into light and dissolve into the Hri. The Hri subsides into the natural state devoid of thoughts. I rest in it as long as it remains. When thoughts proliferate anew, I manifest again as the exalted Lord. The Mani dedication on page 8.
Gombo Chenrezig la na zhuan de wai qian de jie wan jian ji la oi ma ne ben me wan re gu zon do de la ma gen go go de ze den be zem je na Gombo Chenrezig la na zhuan de wai qian de jie wan O ma ne ben me wan ren de jo jia luan ban dai meng e jie zhi mi yo jie nge zhen jia wai na Gombo Chenrezig la na zhuan de wai qian de jie wan xian jie lo o ma ne ben me wan ren me ge jia dan za meng a bu dan de dan yin ai ju be leng e na Gombo Chenrezig la na zhuan de wai qian de jie wan xian jie lo o ma ne ben me wan ren o ye jia mo la na jian ba dan xin bu se ga lang wei zai ne na Gombo Chenrezig la na zhuan de wai qian de jie wan xian jie lo o ma ne ben me wan ren xie wai na wei de da me ge do ji de gan jie cen de ma le ba Gombo Chenrezig la na zhuan de wai qian de jie wan xian jie lo o ma ne ben me wan ren zhe jie mo jie la ro zhe ro so ge me de me bar do jia ma na Gombo Chenrezig la na zhuan de wai qian de jie wan xian jie lo o ma ne ben me wan ren wo yuan dong be man zhe zhen jian dan xia zhe zui be zhen jie ma le ba Gombo Chenrezig la na zhuan de wai qian de jie wan xian jie lo o ma ne ben me wan ren me jiu ga ga xiong ba xuan xian dou men zhuan na bu mo zhen me bai na Gombo Chenrezig la na zhuan de wai qian de jie wan xian jie lo o ma ne ben me wan ren wo zan gang zhen a re zan be len de jie len zhen len de nie wo nam Gombo Chenrezig la na zhuan de wai qian de jie wan xian jie lo o ma ne ben me wan jimbo ngala neje de zui je zo me chara sem je na gombo je re se je la na zhuan de wa jian de je wa xian je lo oi ma ne be me wan ren nyar wa ye da dun zhuo la ma ye la me la zoi gang zum zhen jie nam gombo jie re zai jie la na zhuan de wai jian de jie wa xian jie lo oi ma ne be me wan ren job jue jian gai ran jia ta le de jie ding bai ga we sem jie na gombo jie re zai jie la na zhuan de wai jian de jie wa xian jie lo oi ma ne be me wan ren Om Baza Zado Zamaya Manda Balaya Baza Zado Deno Ba Dejan Jado Membawa Sudu Gayo Membawa Zobe Gayo Membawa Anarado Membawa Zarwa Zede Membayat Sarva karma zai me zidam shiriyam guru hung ha 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 hui banga wai sarva da da ga da ba za ma me me zam ba za ba ma samaya sado
So this concludes the portion of the retreat that Garchen Rinpoche will be attending. And I just wanted to report to Garchen Rinpoche how many mantras have been accumulated thus far, which is 2,154,449,000. And 75. Sorry, it's a big number.
아이버리 상가 에마호 좋아를 보지 홍은 다른 남는 되게 됐어 남는 돼 가도 잡으리
Rinpoche says, thank you everybody, and today Drubang Rinpoche is together with us all, with you all, and you can see him being so happy and dancing in joy.
랑라 핀바진라 데와 라기 돈이 냠데 요래죠 카카요 말에 독지 제지.
And the merit that we have accumulated, we accumulated it for the sake of all beings in the 6 realms, and everyone will receive the same merit. And this merit will remain uninterrupted in all future lifetimes, from lifetime to lifetime. So it is your own benefit and is the happiness of others the purpose of self and others are accomplished simultaneously, together. It's not separate. So thank you so much.
그래서 다시 좋아하는 분들 만나도 주제라. 그래서 소소랑 캐들이 로마 가시 가서 나는 이제 다 자작하는 데를 나는 갈리냐니 있잖아. 그리고 저 냠들요. 답게 좋아하는 저 냠들 더 공통 잡대요. 무슨 배고요. 연들만 가든냐니 있잖아. 나는 소소게 로마 가시 전냐니 제 나는 약고요래 땡을 해와이. 들 자시들을 쇼에
So the Mani retreat was the tradition established by Druvang Rinpoche, and so now we have reinstated this practice, and now it's my hope that the disciples will continue to do the practice, just as we have done the practice together now over the live stream. And this whole time, whenever you practice the Mani mantra, Druvang Rinpoche's mind is really with us because his mind pervades all and he actually comes there. So that is why also now after this live stream online retreat of the Mani mantra, it is my hope that some disciples will continue to do this practice and uninterruptedly, continuously engage in the practice of the Mani. So that's my hope for you. Dashi Delek.
그 텐진 잡을 감이들이 네팔로 나게 자네들이 송주다 연구요 말에 공부 들이 같으니 오 당연히 텐지 토 아송 공대송 골라봤나 들이 다공 거기에 설 때는 다 야도 삼말이 들이 말한테 다 때문에 오래지니 말로 오송네 들이 생각하네 공주진이 공패 맞아 들이 나서 만들어 진고 왔었지 이게 무지 공세갑을 패고 그러면 스가버니 남탕을 패 나기야 이 고사는 고사야 이 뭐마 데려더니 들이시는 패송에 베테다고 공은 챙기고래서 다음은 일이 이제 통절에 아송에 정말 들이는 스가버니 야요리 그 사모로만 상자 하고 요래 그때도 공 도민이 치마요래
When I met Gyabchi Druvang Rinpoche the last time in Nepal, at that time he didn't say much, but he did say, we will still meet one more time, and he placed his hand on my head. And at that time his health was not very good, so I wasn't sure if we will meet again, but I thought that was very auspicious. And then later in Singapore, they started again the Mani Drupchen, but at that time he couldn't come anymore. But then first they said he doesn't come, but then he insisted that I must go, so he did come in the end. And we met at the airport upon his arrival, and so we met, and again he placed his hand on my crown, and it was that night that he actually passed away, passed into Nirvana. So he knew it at that time in Nepal. He said, we will meet one more time. And then we really met one more time in Singapore. So many of the disciples know that story. So such is his unobstructed wisdom mind.
On behalf of the worldwide Sangha, we would, from our heart, deep in our hearts, our profound thanks to His Eminence Garchen Rinpoche for bestowing so many incredible, profound, illuminating, and precious teachings during this Mani retreat. So I make this offering on behalf of the worldwide Sangha.
로마 사막을 사오게 들이 가다 불기.
So Christina represents all the disciples from around the world, so I'm offering this katak to all of you.
I'd also like to thank Ina for her incredible translation and all of the translators that have worked long hours in the middle of the night around the world to translate these teachings. And we thank everyone for their participation in the Mani retreat. However, it's not over. We do have one more afternoon session with Khenpo Tenzin starting at 3 p.m. Arizona time. So please all join for the afternoon session. Thank you.
Shall we do the blazing down? Still we have time, right?
And we'll do the descent of blessings on page 11 for the red Chenrezig Sadhana.
Rani lar sarve tozo hong leven jay lamarens zawa zum je tu je gor tam je jin de ba dar june chen la wang zhe zur yin zhe le zhe bar zhe.
From the life force, the home at the heart of myself, manifest as the deity, light radiates, imploring the Guru's knowledge holders and three roots mind streams. When every one of them has come like gathered clouds, blessing, empowerment, and cities are bestowed and activities are accomplished. Hom Hri. From the very state that is completely pure and free of elaboration appear the principle and retinue self-dynamism of unhalting compassion. Send down upon this place the resplendence of your body, speech, and mind, and grant the five wisdoms supreme empowerment.
Sarva Samaya
Yeah.